and that is this presidential election we have coming up with Kamala Harris and this man, Mr. Trump. Okay. It appears that Joe Biden decided to step away from this reelection. He decided to put his endorsement fully behind Kamala Harris. And I just want to get you guys' thoughts on how you're feeling about it. Do you think he made the right decision to step down? And do you think that, he did the right thing by endorsing Kamala Harris? What are your thoughts about that?
At first, I thought that it wasn't a good idea because I felt like, what was the other option? Because I really didn't see them putting a lot of effort behind Kamala. But once he stepped down and endorsed her, and people actually felt energized about her, it was just like, oh, okay, well, fuck. If y'all gonna fuck with it, then yeah, this is way better. Like, yeah, obviously, a motherfucker that's gonna be awake at the podium is way better. Absolutely. But it for us, it felt like y'all would rather a white dead man than a live biracial woman. Is what it felt like.
Yes, I agree 100%. That's how I felt too, because people were saying that Biden was before he dropped out. They were saying he was gonna drop out, and I was like, Lord, like if he drop out, that's it, because ain't nobody gonna want to vote for Kamala because they ain't vote for Hillary. Da, 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 da. But this is actually good. I think I'm hearing more positive chatter than bad, because I think people are starting to realize, like, yes, the case still stands where, it's the lesser of two evils, like every single political race, always the lesser of two evils. But it seemed to me like people were willing to pick the charismatic, awake evil Trump over sleepy evil. So now that we have two very awake people, one qualified, the other not so much, I think that this is a good thing. This is a good thing as long as people show up.
Yes,
I agree. I have more to say, but before we do that comment reminded me, and I had to check the likes. We got over 700 people here, but only 300. Let's go ahead and get that up. All right. Okay. So hopefully the people got the likes up. Yeah, for me, I think it was definitely the right decision. I hope that it brings more conversation around putting age limits on different roles within politics and stuff within government. I feel like if you're 65 and over, really is giving 60, then just go ahead and enjoy retirement or whatnot. Maybe you can assist in a different way, but to hold like an actual leadership position, I hate to say that. Maybe that's not the best thing for you. I don't know if they need to run some type of test or physicals to see if a person may be experiencing like early symptoms of maybe dementia or whatever they may have going on. I don't know if that would be the better thing. But yeah, I think he did the right thing. And then to turn around and endorse Kamala, I feel like if he wouldn't have did it, everybody would have been looking at him like, okay, well, what the hell going on? Because that's the most qualified person that you do got. So why are you not putting her in? So I loved it. It was what I really liked was to see the shift, as Bondi mentioned, of how people started off, what is that? And then all of this energy, this excitement, like the people on top of Kamala really, really got Trump and them scared as hell. Like, did y'all hear? Let me see if I can pull that up. Did y'all hear about how he was afraid, or he's afraid to actually debate her? Yeah.
That was one of the first things I thought about that made me feel like this was gonna be good. I was like, well, at least I remember getting online saying, well, at least we'll be able to see a debate between the two of them, and she gonna eat that ass up. And that was like the first thing I said that made me feel like it was positive. So he's scared, girl. That's hilarious.
Let me see if they still. Okay, we do got it. Okay, here it is. Let me pause. I want to share this just for the people to see real quick. Okay, so this is what Kamala says.
They agreed upon September 10th debate. He agreed to that previously. Now it appears he's backpedaling, but I'm ready. And I think the voters deserve to see the screen that exists in this race. on a debate stage. And so I'm ready. Let's go.
Will you do it?
Baby, it was the I'm ready, let's go, and the walk off for me. Okay. Now, I first heard that he was going to be, not trying to debate her. Like, that's not something I want to do. Right. So then what ended up happening was I went and found an article where he said, no, I don't mind debating her and I'll debate her a few more times. The thing is, I don't want it to be hosted by MSNBC. I want it to be hosted by Fox. And I'm like, but why? So now Fox then proposed something because they want to be the ones that's in charge of the debate when it happens. And then now I'm seeing this again where he's afraid to do it. Girl, when I tell you she got them shooketh.
Because he thought that was gonna scare her, and she like, no, the rules are still gonna be the rules no matter who's hosting it, right?
Anywhere.
Exactly. So I think once he realized, well, I mean, we still gonna have a debate. Like, so if you think the commentators are gonna be able to jump in and save you, that's not how this is gonna go.
Okay.
I saw somebody say, y'all know all the political memes coming out. Somebody was like, he gonna call her a slur before October. Low key, I think that's what he afraid of. He gonna say something
call her a
stupid
nigga
as
bitch or some
fuck.
shit.
He is. I have a lot to say about this. Have you guys seen that the Netflix, I believe the CEO put up a $7 million, but it wasn't from Netflix. I believe it came from him personally, but now people are trying to say cancel Netflix because they're upset.
Girl,
Apple TV, Prime, Hulu been hitting harder.
Okay. That's fine. That is fine. What else did I want to say? I have 2 videos that I really want us to get into because there's been a lot of like misinformation going around. And for these 2 individuals, I definitely trust their work because they've been talking about stuff even before this election, or shall I say this whole presidential situation. Now this one guy, let me go and put him up on the screen because we definitely got to let the people get into what he's saying. Mr. Kenneth, because he's been debunking stuff for, I feel like since she got in office, he's been on people's heads. So it's not something that just started. He's been calling things out and correcting people on stories when it comes to Kamala. So let us go ahead and check this out.
Kimberly Foster, I'm going to grant you grace today, and I'm going to ask you and allow you to retract your video and your statements on Vice President Kamala Harris, because respectfully, you do not know what the hell you're talking about.
Problem with Kamala Harris is that she was trying to, in 2020, run so far away from being the top cop, being the prosecutor, that she was trying to fit herself into a mold that she just doesn't fit into. She's hardline, she's hardcore, she's tough on crime.
No disrespect, sis, but what the hell are you talking about? Kamala Harris was one of the most progressive prosecutors of her time. She created the first of the nation reentry program called Back on Track, which worked with low-level offenders to get them out of prison, give them an education, give them job wellness classes, credit building classes, gave them education rather than incarceration, and expunged their records after the fact so it wouldn't be a barrier for them to get a job. Like, this is the stuff that's confusing the hell out of me. And while everybody's sitting here talking about she was tough on crime, they said that she was soft on crime. She called it being smart on crime, because a lot of people were upset with the fact that she was building a re-entry program to get offenders out of prison, calling her a social worker rather than a prosecutor. Here's the clip.
That as of January, we will have Back on Track in California's penal code as a model of what we should be doing to be smart on crime.
And yet you can't run away from the charges of those who do not agree with you. They call it soft on crime, that you can't be a social worker as a prosecutor.
And then you're going to say she was trying to shy away from her being a prosecutor. Have you never heard of justice on the ballot?
I believe that in 2020, justice is on the ballot. When in America, there is a father who is holding down 2 jobs and paying more taxes than the richest 400 families in America, economic justice is on the ballot. When in America, there is a mother who is in a parking lot of a hospital, afraid to walk through the sliding glass doors to get into the emergency room with her child, because she knows if she walks through those sliding glass doors, she'll be out of pocket a $4,000 deductible. Healthcare justice is on the ballot.
And since we're talking about justice on the ballot, a lot of these issues and initiatives have actually been addressed by the Biden-Harris administration. When it comes to economic justice, we got student loan debt forgiveness. We got the child tax credit. And then when we're talking about healthcare justice, let's not forget the fact that now, thanks to the Biden-Harris administration, they cannot report to the credit bureau your medical debt. Then you said that she was over here trying to appeal to the people during the George Floyd riots. However, she helped co-author and co-sponsor the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act in June before she was even on the damn ticket with Joe. But I got to add more to this because there's more to Kamala Harris than just re-entry and low-level offenders. We have to talk about the fact that Kamala Harris tackled sex trafficking, particularly when it comes to young black women and young trans women. Y'all do not understand that Kamala Harris created one of the first in the nation child protective bureaus that focused on protecting the children and not charging them for child prostitution. When they were being sex trafficked, they were victims. She gave them access to safe houses. And if you don't believe me, ask black activist Latifah Simon, who was there.
Because really our call was to not decriminalize quote unquote prostitution, but stop the district attorney's office for charging children who are being bought and sold on the streets for prostitution. They're children and they're being bought and sold. And when she told me that that was her goal too, I was like, oh, you know, well, we can rock. And then I met her and I was like, okay, you know, all right, sister. We come to this meeting and this woman that I was working with who had to be 15, 16 at the time, who had just literally days earlier been savagely raped, gang raped. And I needed her to be in this space, this first task force meeting. Kamala met us, and for somehow she, I guess because she had been working with women, young women who had been victims for so long, she, without knowing the sister's story, and the sister had deep chocolate brown skin, and she had cut off her hair after her rape, so she had this very short, beautiful afro. She looked at Helen, cupped her face, and said, "Baby, I'm glad that you're here." And something about that moment, I was like, oh, we gonna rock together. You know what? Because I ain't never seen nobody like you do this work here.
Sis, what are you talking about? Kamala Harris went from pillar to post as AG, standing up even against when people voted for Proposition 8. She stood up for marriage equality, even to where it equates to what she's doing right now with codifying marriage equality with the Respect for Marriage Act. And since we're on LGBT issues, did you know that Kamala Harris worked to end the gay and trans panic defense? And for those who don't know what the fuck that is, this was done by defense attorneys that basically said that it gave their client the right to harm somebody or take the life of somebody who was either gay or trans because they were in sticker shock that they found that this person was trans or this person was gay. That gave them the authority to take away somebody's life. Kamala ended that shit. And since we're at it, let's just go ahead and debunk all the shit. There was some lie that said Kamala Harris locked up 1,500 people, knowing damn well that most of marijuana charges are handled by lower level attorneys. But even with that being so, if you look at the data and the trajectory, marijuana emissions decreased under Kamala Harris's tenure. Then there was another damn lie that Kamala Harris kept over 20,000 prisoners in jail past their sentences for slave labor when that didn't damn happen. That notion was filed by Patrick McKinney, which was denied, meaning it didn't fucking happen. And Kamala Harris knew nothing about this because she had over 20,000 cases that she's working with. She's not intimately involved in every case that hits the damn desk. And this case didn't even require the authorization from Attorney General. You could have got that from a level 3 deputy attorney. Then there was another lie that Kamala Harris stole Nina Simone's estate when that it wasn't even the damn case. What had happened was Nina Simone's daughter stole and embezzled money that was supposed to be used for a music school to build her businesses. So Kamala Harris had to intervene to fulfill Nina's wishes that was in her will. Then there was another lie that Kamala Harris blocked evidence that would have exonerated a black man when that is not so. The black man's name was Kevin Cooper. He was arrested and sentenced in 1985 when Kamala Harris was still in college, you guys. And what happened was he was given several DNA tests that never exonerated him. It went all the way up to the courts of appeals and was struck down, meaning he was all out of appeals, meaning he needed clemency for the governor, which was Arnold Schwarzenegger at the time, which was denied. Now, they went to the Attorney General asking for another one, but she had no authority to do that. So, thank God, because y'all don't do follow-ups. Gavin Newsom gave Kevin Cooper another DNA test, and it turns out it still didn't exonerate him. His ass is motherfucking guilty. Y'all need to do follow-ups and stop running your fucking mouth without knowing what you're talking about. And let me just say this in closing, sis. Everything that you said in your video was drenched in internalized misogyny. I don't know what childhood trauma you got, but don't project that shit on Kamala. And it could be easy for me to beat you down, but instead I'm going to lift you up and tell you that you're enough. You're not going to sit here and talk about Kamala Harris as an airhead or she's coming off of inauthentic. This is something that black women have to hear on a daily, and I'm sure you've heard it yourself. But you have to stop projecting all your no's and every person who stood in the way or questioned your ability to lead, your ability to do the job, question your credentials. You need to stop doing that shit to Kamala because it's all internalized anti-blackness and misogyny. Sis, look within. You're enough. You're enough. And nobody told you today. I'm going to tell you, you're enough. But don't project that shit on Kamala. You have a nice day, ma'am.
Oh, wow. That was a read.
He read her down like Tyra Banks.
Didn't he
Period.
though?
Okay.
I'm surprised at
Go
her,
ahead.
at Kim, because Kimberly,
Mhm.
because I watch her content, from
Okay.
Just Harriet and for Harriet. I watch her content and I really like her. I didn't listen to her video, but I can pretty much, I'm just gonna assume, and you can make an ass out of me. But I think that whenever women are biracial or light complected or come off as what may be conventionally attractive for white people, you assume that they got to where they are because of that fact, instead of the fact that they actually worked to get to that spot.
Mhm.
Because I've said this and I'm going to say it again. Nobody is getting to vice presidency using their coochie. It's
No,
just not
that's
plausible.
crazy as
If
hell.
that, do you know what the girls would have done if all it took was some coochie to get the vice presidency? And then I keep having to
Talk about it.
remind people, this is somebody that was a district attorney, this is somebody that was a senator. Like, you had to go to work. There's nobody that you could fuck that you could get that job if you weren't also doing the work.
We would have been
So,
had a female president if that was the case.
hello.
I'm so
So, yeah.
glad you said this, Bonnie, because I have to bounce back real quick because this is where some of it came from. It came from a Laura Loomer woman that was putting out the
Ooh.
narrative that Kamala smashed her way to the top and alleging that she was messing with a man that was married, and then tried to tie her to Montel Jordan and
Mhm.
not
No,
Montel Jordan,
Montel,
but Williams. Yeah, Montel Williams and his daughter, who she didn't know was his daughter, tried to make it seem like the daughter was just another woman he was messing with, but then came back after he debunked her claims. She says, you guys may not like what I said about Kamala, but it's true. And I'm like, why should we believe you on that when you tried to make it seem like that man's daughter was another girl that
Yeah,
he
like
had
The
those
single
both of?
red carpet, that red
Yeah,
carpet.
Yeah.
Oh
yes.
my gosh, come on.
Yeah. So now Candace
That's the
hops
most
on board
scandalous.
and she says the same. What you say, Niecy?
I said that's the most scandalous thing we're gonna discuss is Montel Williams. His whole
Facts.
ass felons and people with shit. I
Assault
ain't.
allegations,
Yeah.
our cases and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't about
1000%.
consensual sex. We weren't about consensual sex. Oh, okay.
Right.
So they understand that it will look really bad if they do not lean in to saying that they really do want Kamala. But even that feels a bit performative to me. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm starting to see articles creep out and they seem like attacks on Kamala. Again, if we can go into our time machine and go back to 2020, well, every time that someone tried to interject the truth about Kamala, which is that she slept her way to the top, it's a fact. She was with some 6-year-old man, got her start in the political career. And they would go, oh my gosh, how dare you say this? That's so sexist. Well, then suddenly on July 6th, the Daily Mail actually published a headline about the fact that Kamala Harris was, thoughting through life. And they basically said she got her political start, her political upstart, because she was dating this guy, Willie, can't think of his last name right now. And he was married and he was in his 60s and Kamala Harris was just a spring chicken. And that is how she entered the political scene. So she was not somebody who was a part of their ecosystem, but they tapped her in 2020 because they were like, oh, like the thing that we always say is that look at the Republican Party, it's so white and there's no diversity. And how are we going to be able to say that if we're running Joe Biden, who has been extraordinarily wealthy his entire life and whose son is becoming extraordinarily wealthy while smoking crack simply because he's doing dirty deals in Ukraine? So what are we going to do? We're going to hire Kamala Harris. We're going to select Kamala Harris to be the vice president. And he's the only person I can think of. And then we can sell. I know that when she was sworn into Congress, she was talking about how she's an Indian, but we'll just sell the people, like, forget the Indian side. Like, now she's back to black. And the streets are talking, ha, 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 ha. And that's what they did. So that is the only reason that Kamala Harris, they literally did not have another person that they felt could be the vice president and allow them to use the isms. You don't like her, you're a sexist. You don't think that she's amazing, you're a misogynist, deep-seated misogyny. You don't want this ticket to win. Is it because Kamala Harris is black? Kinda. I feel like it is. It's because you're a racist. So they just needed her to do the thing.
So y'all just heard some of what Miss Candace had to say, that a lot of us are definitely not in agreement with. I think that a lot of what she said was very ignorant, and I don't know why a lot of people just believe her. Now, I don't think she'd be wrong on a lot of stuff that she says. Well, I ain't gonna say a lot, but a few things that she said, but not about Kamala, but just like in general. But this right here, girl, I feel like you was like way out of line, especially when you just been out of line for a minute this week. I don't know what the hell you got going on, even with how you tried to switch up that Sonya Massey situation. Bitch.
Oh
But
no,
we're
I
not
did
gonna
not
tap
even see
into
her
that
talk
at this
about that
time.
shit.
Oh yes.
Oh my
Oh
God.
yes. Girl.
Oh my
Oh
God,
yes.
she'll run
And
me hot.
I don't know if the proper voice is having y'all in a chokehold or what the fuck, but people are just
absolutely
over
think
here eating it up. And
it's her
then they
hard
rock
R's.
with it. Yes, they rock with it because she's black too. Because it's like, oh, well, she said it, so it must be true. She's black. And I'm like, that sound like people that folks call racist, and you be like, well, I'm not racist because I have at least 2 friends that are black. Like, it still don't
Girl,
work, baby. It still don't
Candace,
work.
Candace ain't nothing but a dry coochie version of Amber Rose, as far as I'm concerned. You are being
Yeah.
bought and paid at the highest bidder at the end of the day. Like the rhetoric that she spews is total bullshit. You being black does not mean what you're saying is true. I think it is annoying as fuck that there are so many black Republicans that think that black people that are Democrats are the ones being scammed and we're just all loyal. No, stupid. We're paying attention to what the Republicans are putting into law. We are paying attention to the civil what you call it, not the civil, all our civil liberties that are being taken away from us under Trump, MAGA Republicans, and what's happened with the Supreme Court. Our rights are being taken away. I'm so sorry that I feel like that's a fucking problem, and I would much rather vote for the people that will put my rights back into place and not put women in jail for having miscarriages. I'm so sorry that I would much rather people can continue to have to and be incentivized to hire and promote people that are not just white, because I know if y'all are not incentivized or forced to do the shit, you won't do it. So I'm all about the DEI hire, even if it is Candace, because Candace, you're a DEI hire, honey, and it doesn't mean that you're not qualified. It simply means they're qualifying you to fill a quota because they have to fill one, because otherwise they would not. They would only hire white people.
Yeah, what happened to that one girl? You remember the white girl? Everybody loved posting her last election. The
Tory
white lady,
Lauren,
her name
Tommy Lauren.
Oh, that's Tommy Lauren.
Yep.
Where she at? What happened?
Have not
I
seen her
have
in a
no
minute.
idea. Candace Owen, I guess her black factor, I'm gonna do this like she did. I guess she overtook her. But I honestly couldn't focus on anything Candace was saying because I was just looking at how struggle her face was. But I felt bad because I was like, wow, what happened to you? Who hurt you?
All of the black people growing up that made fun of her because her edges and the tips of her hair didn't match.
So they saying Trump done withdrew from the race. I mean, not the race. I'm sorry. Not the race, from the debate. From the debate. Trump withdrew from the debate. So it looks like he's not scheduling any debates with her. So
no debates September. Oh my gosh.
What up?
Yeah. But we're gonna get into one last video and then we're gonna move on to something else. But I definitely wanted to make sure I share this one as well when it comes to the misinformation, because Miss Amanda Seals also got on her platform and said, or at least someone else's platform, and gave her thoughts about Kamala, and someone else, Miss Reese Colbert, decided to come out and she wanted to clear up some things when it comes to that.
So I see a clip is going viral where Amanda Seals is talking about her lack of support for Vice President Kamala Harris. And be clear, I don't care if she supports her or not. She's entitled to do that. She's entitled to her opinion. However, I have to push back on any notion that Vice President Kamala Harris erases or marginalizes systemic racism, especially as vice president, when there is ample evidence to the contrary. So I'm just going to lay out where Amanda makes points about things that need to be addressed and where Vice President Kamala Harris stands on that.
We have shooters that are going into places and killing people because of their race. And then we're not calling it domestic terrorism.
What we know from the intelligence community, one of the greatest threats to our national security is domestic terrorism manifested by white supremacists.
We have an entire culture of police that are killing Black people and getting away with it because the law says they can.
I was, as a senator, as a United States Senator, a co-author of the original George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. And as Vice President of the United States, we demand that Congress pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Joe Biden will sign it. And we should not delay, and we will not be denied. It is non-negotiable.
We have a country that was 1000% built on the foundation of racism that now legislators are trying to pretend didn't happen and are getting that through and doing it on an education level.
Black history is American history. Living history, breathing history, history that we create every day, and history that we then must teach and celebrate. A history that helps us to understand how the past has influenced the present and potentially our future. And let us all be clear, we will not, as a nation, build a better future for America by trying to erase America's past.
And on a DEI level, you cannot, as the second in line to the highest form of office in this country, make a message on hope.
And so these are issues that we must confront. And it does not help to heal our country, to unify us as a people, to ignore the realities of that.
So, what have you learned? If you care about what the vice president has to say about certain issues, maybe you should start paying attention to her when she speaks instead of taking a headline and running with it. But more on this Saturday.
All right. So you guys just heard her. Okay.
It wasn't just a headline, though. That was I appreciate the breakdown, but that wasn't just a headline. Kamala actually got up there and said that this country was not built on racism. She literally said that during some type of, it wasn't a press conference. It was, an address. But in that address, that is what she said. Because I'll never forget it. Because I remember thinking to myself, girl, have you lost your fucking mind? Like, I remember thinking to myself, have you lost your mind when she got up there and said that? But what were we talking about? You got to play the game. I think in order to make white people feel comfortable, and because that's the thing, like,
I think that was a good game right there.
It wasn't. But I do feel like sometimes you lie so that you can make white people feel like you're not pro-Black. Because if you're pro-Black, then they're going to get scared and not vote for you.
I'm trying to figure out which America she talking about. You talking about before Christopher came over here? Who y'all say allegedly came over? What? You talking about that part wasn't built on that?
Girl. And it wasn't even just Black people racism, girl. It was Native people racism. They kill everybody. Okay? They kill everybody. So, yeah, girl, I don't agree with Kamala on that, but I also feel like that's a part of playing the game. But it gaslights us when you get up there in front of us and tell us that something is not happening when we know it is happening. So when she later gets up there and says, it doesn't do us any favors to act like it's not happening. Well, we're glad you know that now. But when you got up there before and said that shit, and I'm sure when she originally said that shit, that was before, and after the fact, you come in and, you correct what you said. But yeah, she still said it.
Right. And then in addition to that, I'm glad that you mentioned that you did what you did not like, right? Because I feel like when presidents or candidates go up, I don't feel like there's going to be something 100% that we're always going to agree on, but people have to do their proper work to find out what majority within their policy and within their rhetoric and what about them that you agree with that you lean more towards to decide on who you're going to vote for, whether, regardless. So great points, because everybody, there may be quite a few people that may feel exactly how you feel, but then still feel like she's the better candidate because of X, Y, and Z
She
for
is.
them.
She is a better candidate. Like it's on guard to me. But yeah, now we still gonna have these issues. We always gonna have these issues, and that's what everybody needs to understand. No president is gonna come in and fix all of the problems. That's impossible. So get that out your fucking head. Also,
Talk about it. Without a working Congress, like a Congress that's more so on their side with the policies, that's really gonna be a killer.
Exactly. Hopefully we can pull it out. I feel more optimistic now than I did before. So there's that.
Yeah, did y'all see Phaedra spoke too soon?
What?
Y'all didn't see Phaedra spoke too
I
soon. Phaedra
did
said
see
something. She reposted something like, now that that's out the way, can I just say we're not gonna win or something? I can't remember what it
I
was.
thought she
but
said something about like voting for somebody else or something, voting for something. But it wasn't it was an opposing post.
And that was like right before all the positivity came. So
yeah, I think I saw a little clip it up, and I was like, but who cares? Who's asking Phaedra? Like, you need to be figuring out why you only show up for court when it's chaotic.
Saw the case.
There's
Win a
that.
case.
I saw a comment. I see a comment that says she panders a lot. That could be true. That could be true that she may pander a lot. I think when you're going up for a role or a position, I think a lot of people may pander. I'm not saying it's right or fair, but
that's politics, though.
Yeah, that is politics. I mean, we literally watched Trump pander on more than one occasion, and now you got them you just had George Lane come up here pandering, talking about pandering to the Trumpettes, saying if he doesn't get in office, it needs to be a civil war. Basically, in agreement with what happened on January 6th, and wouldn't mind it repeating and even spreading to be even bigger. You know what I'm saying?
Crazy.
So there's that.